Omkatsat here. And welcome. We are continuing with the Vedic model of creation, explaining how creation evolves from the subtle state to the gross physical manifest world. The Vedic model is the complete opposite of the atheistic scientists' speculations. In the manifest material phenomena, which is subject to time, the universe goes through cycles of creation and annihilation. At the time of annihilation, the material energy remains in an unmanifest condition. In the process of creation, the Mahatattva creates the material ego, whose effulgence swallows the darkness present at the time of universal dissolution, and exhibits the variegatedness of the material world. The material ego springs up from the Mahatattva, which evolved from the Lord's own energy. That material ego has active power of three kinds. They are good, passionate, and ignorant. It is from these three types of material ego that the mind, the senses of perception, the organs of action, and the gross elements evolve. In pure consciousness, one is God conscious, and from that, the first contamination sprang up. That contamination is called false ego, or the identification of the body as the self. The living being has marginal independence, which allows him to forget his inner and spiritual nature. It is the false ego that is the basic principle for all material activities. As soon as one deviates from pure consciousness, he increases his entanglement in material action and reaction. The entanglement of materialism is the material mind, and, from this material mind, the senses and material organs become manifest. The false ego is characterized as the doer, as an instrument, and as an effect. False ego is further characterized as serene, active, or dull, according to how it is influenced by the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. False ego is transformed into the demigods, the controlling directors of material affairs. As an instrument, the false ego is represented as different senses and sense organs, and, as the result of the combination of the demigods and the senses, material objects are produced. In the material world, we are producing so many things, and this is called advancement of civilization, but factually the advancement of civilization is a manifestation of the false ego. From the false ego of goodness, the mind evolves, whose thoughts and reflections give rise to desire. The symptoms of the mind are determination and rejection, which are both due to different kinds of desires. The lord of the mind is Aniruddha. By meditating upon Aniruddha, one can become free from the agitation of acceptance and rejection. By the transformation of false ego in passion, intelligence takes birth. The functions of intelligence are to help in ascertaining the nature of objects when they come into view, and to help the senses. Intelligence is the discriminating power to understand an object, and it helps the senses make choices. Therefore, intelligence is supposed to be the master of the senses. By the proper use of intelligence, one's consciousness is expanded, and the ultimate expansion of consciousness is, wait for it. You've guessed it, that's right. God consciousness. Doubt, misapprehension, correct apprehension, memory and sleep, as determined by their different functions, are said to be the distinct characteristics of intelligence. Doubt is one of the important functions of intelligence. However, blind acceptance of something does not give evidence of intelligence. In order to cultivate intelligence, one should be doubtful in the beginning, but doubting is not very favorable when information is received from the proper source. The study to determine whether one's identity is spiritual or material begins in doubt. When one is able to analyze his actual position, the false identification with the body is detected. When false identification is detected, then real identification can be understood. Real understanding is proved experimental knowledge. This experimental knowledge can be achieved when one has understood false knowledge. By experimental or proved knowledge, one can understand that he is not the body, but spirit soul. Egoism, in the mode of passion, produces two kinds of senses, the senses for acquiring knowledge, and the senses of action. The senses of action depend on the vital energy, and the senses for acquiring knowledge depend on intelligence. The mind is a product of egoism in goodness, and intelligence is a product of egoism in passion. Because the sense organs for activity and for acquiring knowledge require energy, the vital energy, or life energy, is also produced by egoism in the mode of passion. Therefore we find that people who are very passionate can improve in material acquisition very quickly. It is recommended in the Vedic scriptures that if one wants to encourage a person in acquiring material possessions, one should also encourage him in sex life. We naturally find that those who are addicted to sex life are also materially advanced, because sex life is the impetus for the material advancement of civilization. However, for those who want to make spiritual advancement, there is almost no existence of the mode of passion. Only the mode of goodness is prominent. When egoism in ignorance is agitated by the sex energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the subtle element, sound, is manifested, and from sound comes the ethereal sky and the sense of hearing. By agitation of the element of egoism in ignorance, the first thing produced was sound, which is the subtle form of ether. It is stated also in the Vedanta Sutra that sound is the origin of all objects of material possession, and that by sound one can also dissolve this material existence. The entire material manifestation began from sound, and sound can also end material entanglement. Sound is the cause of the sky, and sky is the cause of the ear. And the ear is the first sense for receiving knowledge. Persons who are learned, and who have true knowledge, define sound as that which conveys the idea of an object, indicates the presence of a speaker screened from our view, and constitutes the subtle form of ether. It should be clear from this that, as soon as we speak of hearing, there must be a speaker. Without a speaker, there is no question of hearing. Every word we hear has a meaning behind it. As soon as we hear the word water, there is a substance, that is, water, behind the word. Similarly, as soon as we hear the word God, there is a meaning to it. When we speak of seeing, there must be form. By our sense perception, the beginning experience is the sky. Sky is the beginning of form, and from the sky, other forms emanate. The objects of knowledge and sense perception begin therefore from the sky. Alrighty then, that will do it for today. Om, Cat, Sat,